Georgia. Barnett, a UK citizen and a resident of Tel Aviv, was thankfully in the UK at the time of the attacks. Georgia, I really appreciate you joining us today on Talk Today. I want to get this from the human angle. We sit here in the United Kingdom, we see those attacks. We see images of women and children being taken from their homes, separated from their family, God only knows. We see Netanyahu say, this is the beginning of terror. We hear Hamas overnight saying we'll kill a hostage for every time there's an airstrike. When you see this unfold, personally, what does that do to you? What was your initial reaction?
Well, I was actually in Israel. I woke up on Saturday morning. I coincidentally had a flight booked because my sister is about to give birth. So waking up to messages from family, from friends, wanting to know if I'm alive, wanting to know where I was at a party, not the festival where it happened, but I was at a party the day before. So as you can imagine, my family woke up thinking, where is she? Waking up to that, turning on the news. And what feels so shocking is that it's not just close to home, it was home. Also rallying around, messaging my friends. Every single person that I speak to either has a family member lost, somebody has been kidnapped, they're mourning the dead. One of my best friends has just had a baby on her husband's 30th birthday. She had to say goodbye to him because he had to go fight. I mean, this is happening not just in front of my eyes, but all around me. And so it's unfathomable, it's shocking. And this is not something that you should ever experience in your lifetime.
No, absolutely
and you didn't,
not.
I mean, sorry, Nick, we talked yesterday, didn't we, about how this sort of happened out the blue, and we talked about Israeli security services and whether Hamas has been doing this in another country, you know, Hezbollah, Iran, we talk about that. Did it shock the Israeli people, or have you spent the last however many years always looking over your shoulder?
It's funny, I've lived in Israel for 7 years, and you get used to it, but when you think about it, the fact that my bedroom is a bomb shelter, so that at any point I know that if you hear a missile warning, I'm going to have to run into my bedroom. 2 years ago, there was a war and that did happen. It's something that, it's sad that Israelis have to live with that every single day and just supposed to get on with it straight after, but it's not normal. And, you know, some people don't have bomb shelters in their apartments. They have under a minute to run into a stairwell with their kids, to run across the road, to get into safety. And you're sitting around with other people not knowing what's going on. It's on one hand become everyday life, but it's not supposed to. So yes, you always know at the back of your mind that at some point there might be a missile warning, but you don't expect to.
You don't
wake
believe
up
it was going to happen.
No, and for the whole, you know, the whole country to be on high alert. Even when I got to the airport, you know, so many flights were cancelled on Saturday. Am I going to get there? Am I not going to get there? Arriving at the airport, waiting at the gate, all of a sudden, and that's a noise. You know, it shocks your whole body. We had to run from the gate undercover. There's people on the tarmac on the floor. A rocket had hit Tel Aviv, and then I'm going straight to social media. It was on my street, outside my building. So then I'm checking in with my neighbours. Are you okay? Is everyone okay? It's just not something you ever think you're going to...
Can't equate it, can you?
No.
Not at all. We've seen some horrendous images from the music festival where we know at least 260 bodies of people have been found. I believe you had friends who were at that very music festival.
I did. One of my best friends, her very best friend, who I know well, Yarin, one of the DJs, at 6 a.m. was his opening set. Imagine getting so excited, playing, seeing people dancing in freedom, and then all of a sudden just having to flee the scene. So checking in, no answer, not knowing if he's alive, if he's been kidnapped, if people have been kidnapped, checking with friends who had friends there, waiting to hear. Then only later on, you know, finding out that people are still hiding in bushes, running, and you just see images of young people running through fields and just being shot at as if it was target practice. And that just, it echoes the past. That's not something we should ever see. And I go to festivals just like that, and I can't stop thinking that could have been me, you know. My non-Jewish friends have come to visit me in Israel. I took them to a party very similar. We were dancing in freedom and celebration. Them sending me messages saying, gee, that could have been us.
And interesting what you said about echoes of the past. Netanyahu's been a divisive character, it has to be said. And I think in the last couple of years, he's been in, he's been out, there's been judicial things, all that sort of thing. In Tel Aviv, in Israel, right now, has this hardened behind him and we need retribution, we need our liberty, we need to stand up for Judaism, if you like? Or are questions being asked about him and how this was allowed to happen?
There's, of course, many questions up in the air, and I'm sure, and I hope those will be answered soon. But I think right now, it's shock, it's trauma. Yes, how could this have happened? Of course, every single person is thinking that, and we're saying that. But actually, more at the forefront is people's family members have been lost. You know, innocent lives. It's not just innocent lives that have been lost, but the way that it was done is unfathomable.
Completely.
It sends shivers down your spine.
Harrowing. And how do you feel now being in the UK, obviously so far away? Will you go back sometime soon, or are you going to stay over here for the time being?
Thank you. It's a really good question. It's such a strange feeling because I'm British, but I have an Israeli passport. I'm also Israeli. I've been living in Israel 7 years. It's my home. It's where my friends are. When you don't have family in Israel, community becomes your family.
Absolutely.
So I'm feeling so far away, and I'm also speaking to friends around the world that are feeling the same thing. I almost felt guilty to leave, except I also feel so grateful that I'm safe and that I woke up this morning surrounded by my family. It's a very strange feeling, and I'm not sure that's really up in the air right now.
And how do you feel? We've obviously had our reporter Nick there in Golders Green talking about the feelings of anti-Semitism within London. What's your response to that? How do you feel safe in London?
It's also, so, you know, leaving Israel, where it's supposed to be our homeland, where Jews are supposed to feel safe, coming here and then seeing also echoes of the past. You know, I felt scared. Yesterday was I felt so proud going to the rally and being there and being with Jewish people and singing the national anthem for Israel in peace, praying for those that have lost, you know, not fighting, but standing there against terrorism, and yet still looking over my shoulder, thinking about the exits. Is this going to be okay? Is this going to be another scene where more of us are going to be lost? You know, standing next to my mum, praying that we're safe, grateful that we're safe, but not knowing something's going to happen. And it definitely is a worry right now. Is it safe to be a Jew? Thinking about other people, you know, on the streets, is it safe for them to wear their Magen David? You know, it's also a question.
And we do have to leave there in a sec, but also pro-Palestinian marches and rallies overnight must...
Well, to be stood out at 10 Downing Street singing in peace, and then down the road, straight after, looking at the news and, you know, people climbing flagpoles and waving their flags and screaming and shouting. And then in Manchester, one of the representatives from the rally was saying, we are celebrating this day. We are so proud. We are so joyous.
Beyond me.
I'm lost for words.
I have to say, one of the best interviews I've ever done. Georgia Barnett, thank you so much indeed.